Today I ducked up by making my mom think I'll move in with her. A couple of days ago, I ducked up and I don't know what to do, and haven't yet reaped the consequences of my actions yet. I am currently 18 and have been living with my dad most of my life. My mom and dad were both young adults and not ready for a kid when they had me, so they were never together after I was born. My mom owned me at the start till I was 5 and lost custody due to a couple of reasons, but mostly because I was an escape artist kindergartner and I'd leave my schools to wander, and at the time my mother was homeless living in a women's shelter with my 2 younger sisters. My dad eventually gained custody of me, and I was held back in school to redo kindergarten. Throughout my life my mom has always tried to get me to move back in with her and my 2 sisters. I was 6 I believe when she kidnapped me from my dad and tried to keep me with her. It was during a school year, but she re-enrolled me into school, so they found me really quick, I think. But after all that my dad got me back, and him and my mom worked some things out and finally both agreed to do the whole weekend with moms and school week with dad. And this worked throughout elementary. Then I went to middle school. My dad got a new girlfriend and we lived with her, and my mom decided to move to a different state with my sisters. I was pretty upset about this because my mom was leaving. Eventually my dad breaks up with his girlfriend and we move. We didn't move to an unusual place though, we moved to essentially nowhere. Our address doesn't show up on Google Maps and doesn't have directions. The closest town is a 30-minute car ride and most of my neighbors are 15-minute walk away from one another, and we don't have running water. So I take a shower only once every 2 weeks. This was also in COVID times, 2021. So I was on online school, and me and my dad lived with my grandma, so it was an interesting living situation. Eventually my mom moved back to our original state to live with her new boyfriend. 2022. My dad told me he thought it was best for me to live with my mom since she was back, so I did. Now I love both of my parents. And I know it might seem cruel to say this, and I do feel really bad about saying this, but living with my mom was awful. I learned a lot of things I shouldn't have and I had to deal with a lot of duck-up bullcrap, but I really want to make it clear I love my mom. Living with my mom and her boyfriend was not at all fun. The whole house was too overfilled. 3 kids, me and siblings, 4 adults, 2 roommates and my mom and her BF, then 6 animals, 3 of my sister's pets and 3 BF's pets. The house smelled, and only had 4 bedrooms. My mom and her BF lived in the downstairs living room. My bed was on the floor and was originally the cat's room. There were cat doors so the cats came in and out as they pleased. And pleased they did cause they piss on my bed. It got bad enough I had to flip my whole mattress over cause nothing I did got rid of the pee. I think some of the few worst things that happened was the constant cheating my mom did to her boyfriend. That could have gotten us kicked out since he owned the home. Luckily he didn't, but it drove me nuts that she could have made us homeless, and she always argued that he couldn't kick us out. He could. Then the most cruelest thing my mom did was text me at school to tell me that we were putting one of the cats down. No call, no sit-down discussion, just a text while I was at school. And I have 2 half-sisters. I have a different dad than them. We thought my sisters A and C both had the same dad. A and C dad died a long time ago. They both were pretty messed up about it, but it happened when they were pretty young. But while we were living there, C overheard a conversation mother was having. It turns out the man she thought was her dad wasn't at all and was only A's father. Just imagine that. That's ducked up. That's awful. I can rest easy knowing my dad's my dad. But my sister can't. I just couldn't believe my mom would do that to her. And I can't really put into words what knowing that stuff is like, but I hate it and I just didn't want to live there anymore. And then I moved back in with my dad and went to in-person school. Eventually school ends and my mom is asking me to move with them to Tennessee. She broke up with her old BF but got a couple of new ones. I convinced her to try to move near where I currently live because I want to finish my last school year in the school, and have my sisters go with me too, and I could still live with my dad. I made this whole suggestion up because I love them and I love my mom too, and I still want to live near them. Sadly she couldn't find a place near AM at my dad's house when I suddenly get a call from her saying that she found a place near. But it wouldn't be at the same school, but she said I could find a job nearby and she would buy me my own RV. I thought about going to a school with both my sisters and having my own place, having showers whenever I wanted. I was caught off guard and just said yes without thinking about the consequences. I didn't think about my dad's feelings. I didn't think about my mom's feelings. I didn't think about my grandma's feelings, and I didn't think about the awful nasty situations my mother puts me in. So I ducked up. This is just me mindlessly typing my feelings out, so it probably won't make sense and I doubt anybody will read it. But if you do, sorry, it's incoherent. TLDR, live with my mom for a year. Not good, nasty nasty. She calls me about moving in with her again. Don't think and accidentally said yes, oh damn it. Here is what one Redditor wrote on this post. You are going to have to tell her you thought about it and it doesn't make sense for you. That you got caught up in the excitement and love for her. Then you need to start working on getting a job for after school. You need to save whatever you can. So you can get yourself a small place with a roommate or something as soon as it's available. I know guilt and wanting to put others' feelings ahead of you is a deep thing. I still struggle with it as a 40-year-old because of my childhood. I have my own children now and will make any choice for them. Even the hard ones that hurt my parents' feelings. But you need to work towards putting yourself first. Your needs and well-being are important. You matter. You can still love your parents, but put yourself first. I really hope you figure that out sooner rather than later. I have struggled so deeply with it. So this really resonates with me. The more you practice putting yourself first and living with the guilt you feel, without giving in or changing your mind, the easier it gets. It still takes a while, though. I could see myself in your post so much. The way you reiterate that you definitely love them is what I do. Usually, before I talk about the crappy things they've done to me. I really hope you put yourself first now and for the foreseeable future. I wish you all the best. Another one wrote, Damn, I started crying as I was reading your story with my baby sleeping in my arms, and could not help to think I hope I'll never mess up like these parents did. I am sorry to say this, I know you love them, but you were extremely emotionally abused. I would try to get on my own ASAP and keep them at a healthy distance. Just tell Yout Mom you thought about it and reached the conclusion that is not beneficial for you to move in with her. Best of luck to you and a huge hug. Hope your future will bring you peace and stability. OP replied to this and wrote, I've always thought about how abuse had to hurt the kid in a big way to count as abuse emotionally. But I do remember telling my dad's ex a story and her telling me I was abused, so it does put into perspective how I'm not even telling that story and people are saying was abused. It's kinda nice to know that the stuff that happened aren't laughing matters. I'll definitely be taking that advice to heart. Thank you. Now here's the update. I called her and told her I couldn't live with her. She was a little upset and said that she got the whole place just so me and my sisters could go to school together. I said that I could visit more often, and after I finish the school year I can spend more time with her and my sisters. But I explained this to her in a pretty confusing way, so I don't think she quite understood what I was saying, since I was also feeling really guilty when I was talking to her and I was having a hard time finding words. Eventually she just said okay, and said to call her again if I changed my mind. She sounded pretty hurt and angry when she said this and huffed in the phone. I then just changed the topic and asked her just random questions and told jokes to soften the blow of the call. So I did it. And thank you for all the comments. I've read all of them, though I couldn't come up with a reply to them. But I am very grateful for people taking out some of their time of day to comment. It means a lot and puts a lot of things that happened to me into perspective. Thank you.
Story 2. Today I ducked up by confessing to a guy I thought would reject me and never would see again. English is not my first language, so I'm sorry if there's any grammatical errors. So you see, not exactly today, but 3 weeks ago, I decided to confess to a guy I was having a huge crush on since 3 months ago beforehand, but I didn't got the courage to talk to because of struggling before in socializing, love relationship, and in resume not too sure if I wanted a relationship with him. These reasons weren't any new, since I got these thoughts from the start, so I tried to brush them off during those months, but I couldn't manage to do so, since he got friends in common with me, was in my class and constantly standing out by his grades just made it hard for me to do so in general. But there was this time, a friend of mine that knew I had a crush on him and her seat was near to his and his friend, heard that they were talking about relationships and somehow ended talking about one particular time he, my crush, went out on a date with a girl he wasn't interested in just for her to pay him to eat, and was laughing about it with his friend. Of course I knew this kind of thing was pretty messed up, and I'm a person that gets the ick pretty fast with these things, but somehow my crush in him didn't vanish away still knowing that. There was this other time he was somehow embarrassed of his culture, and pretty much talked about part of his family being from Europe to defend himself, Where I live it's pretty common this type of things, and it did pretty much upset me because I don't support any kind of this behavior, but my crush in him still didn't vanish away. I somehow thought at a certain part one was straight up just obsessed or just in love with the person I thought he was in my head, so I tried quitting that feeling by uninstalling social media, tried switching classrooms, I didn't got to do so, straight up making like he didn't exist, everything you could do to get over it while attending the same classes. Before all this my parents were gonna make me switch high school by the end of these 3 months, so my friend proposed me to confess. See, this was a crazy idea, but somehow to me at that moment made sense, since if he rejected me directly, I was gonna lose hope in all type of ways. Part of the complications to get over it was this type of holding eye contact time to time in class, so I got the courage, and pretty much put my mind in it for what to say if I somehow got the courage to do so. Surprisingly, even for me, I did it, and in the last day I was gonna attend I asked him that if we could talk for a moment, he accepted and we went to talk to a park. I started with how sorry I was if I got to make him uncomfortable in any way, that I didn't got to talk to him but we got to attend classes together, that I wished we could have got to know better, but I was gonna retire soon, and I wanted to get what I felt off of my chest. That I pretty much understood if he rejected me, and wished that I somehow didn't get to make him feel discomfort in any way, that in fact I wasn't pretty much sure if it was the right time to be in a relationship in my perspective, and he interrupted me by saying, "Oh no, don't say that, we still can get to know each other, I'm pretty much sociable," and asked for my number. As you can imagine, I pretty much didn't expect that, just wrote my number on my phone and pretty much started disassociating in the moment, because I didn't know what to do next. The moment got awkward, and I got to comment my points of view still of why I thought was a wrong time for dating, and he started saying his. The convo pretty much got lightened up after that, and then he started wanting to know me better, asking about my music interests, talking about his childhood and his struggles in high school with education. We talked about 3 hours, time went flying, and by the end of the conversation he said he would text me. Somehow I still got this feeling at the back of my head that even after having a good talk, he didn't want it to do so, but I gave it a chance, then figured out I was right, in some type of way. I still, illusionated somehow, and was anxious the whole day, since all of this conversation dated in the morning. He texted me the next day, by that in the night after that. We somehow talked for approximately 4 days, but not too much, and a pretty much average/short conv. Here's when it got pretty much awkward. He told me straight up, at 8 p.m. that he was looking into something more intimate, by what I replied that I wasn't searching the same, and that it was okay still if he doesn't want to keep talking after this. This is the first time I handle a situation like this, by what he replied that it was okay still, that he was sorry if it made me uncomfortable, that he wasn't pretty much interested in relationships too. I replied that I understood and wished him the best. He asked me to please don't mention this to any friends, that he wouldn't do so too, and I agreed. But then, I pretty much stopped going to high school for just 2 weeks, and my parents decided to put me back in. It's hard to explain the real high school situation, and started to go again on Friday. One of my friends, that sits next to them, my ex-crush and his friends, heard them tease him about this dirty jokes with a girl, and constantly ask him to look at the back of the class. Him pretty much embarrassed by the comments too, but they were a bunch of friends, pretty much 5 boys teasing him about it, and now, I'm attending high school in this situation, and no, since according not to talk about it with our friends, we haven't talked again. TLDR. I confessed to the person I loved, thinking I wouldn't see him again. He offered me a relationship only for Jingalinga, and I rejected him, went back to high school, and now the whole situation, it's embarrassing. Now it's time for some comments. One Redditor wrote, "Oh high school, how I have missed your stories. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. I believe most guys are physically attracted and most girls are mentally stimulated. The whole situation is super awkward to begin with. Guys resort to caveman tactics and think if they show how attracted they are that it'll turn into a romantic movie. I've experienced this myself, where the hormones just take over and ruin the start of a relationship. It doesn't mean that he's not a nice guy, he just needs to learn to take control over his hormones. This is where people say he has 2 heads. Now I don't want to tell you to bark up the wrong tree, a metaphor for giving the wrong advice. But true feelings can be less common and more rare. I suggest you befriend him. I'm 38 and I miss some quality people I met in high school that I wish I had created even a friendly relationship with. Mind you, our time is limited and it's difficult to invest in too many relationships. I am really taken back by the fact that he went on a date for a free dinner though. That doesn't scream as the best behavior to me. They call that gold digging, and I avoid those people. Again, you're young and everyone makes mistakes, and that's part of life, learning to better ourselves. Having those strong feelings can really help a relationship in difficult times. A strong bond will not break as easily, as remembering those feelings will help you to work on strengthening the relationship. Sometimes high school can feel like a lot of pressure to do things, especially like you feel like you have to make a decision. Just relax and take all the pressure off and just be friends. If something develops, great. If not, then oh well, you have already been honest with him. Great job building up the courage, by the way. Don't give in to astigmatism either, be it social peer pressure or sexual pressure. Don't be manipulated, make your own choices and stand by them. People will always criticize and judge. Don't be afraid to roll your eyes at the silly chatter. Relax, be yourself, trust in yourself, and good luck. Another Redditor advised. Poop happens. Don't let it faze you. At least he was honest about only wanting something sexual. You did nothing wrong. Good on you for keeping your boundaries and limits up with regards to intimacy when that was not what you wanted. There are lots of boys, and later, men, out there, that want a relationship like you do. This is the end of this video. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, comment them down below in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this story, like this video and subscribe to our channel. In the meantime, you can watch these videos. Goodbye.